Okay. So the thing about norms is they limit our sense of what's possible, right? So for me, this was the way to achieve success based on what I grew up with in my family and sort of through tracking and counseling in high school. This is a respectable career for an Asian American, even though I didn't really like it. And so what happened around when I turned 30, it seemed like a time to reevaluate my life. And even though I was materially successful, my life kind of lacked deeper meaning. So I started this process of introspection through journaling, meditation, psychotherapy, lots of therapy. And then one day I found myself at my grandparents' gravesite okay, I'm getting feedback. In the Japanese American cemetery outside of San Francisco, at my grandparents' gravesite, asking them, why do I feel all this grief? And even though I was a left-brain, very rational engineer, I got a calling that you need to go to the concentration camp. So it's this camp called Tule Lake that my parents were incarcerated in as teenagers in World War II. And so eventually I volunteered for a pilgrimage at Tule Lake to help make a video for the bus tour, which turned into my first film, which became a documentary that was broadcast nationally on cable, regionally on PBS, got picked up for educational distribution, still in distribution on Canopy. And the meaning of that experience was so much more profound than anything I'd ever done as an engineer that I wanted to give that a chance. It was also much harder than anything I'd done as an engineer because of, I think, the doubts and questions that come up during creative practice, right? So I feel like if there's no doubt or question, maybe there's not enough at stake, but the more meaningful work really, really takes you to a new place. So I eventually left my job as an engineer and started working in Asian American documentary filmmaking full time. And then I got this weird illness, like a low-grade fever that wouldn't go away for a year. So I had to stop working. And eventually I had energy to do one thing, which was to draw. So I took a drawing class at community college, which led to painting. And then I decided I wanted to be a full-time artist, a painter. This is from a t-shirt a friend gave me. It's a little obscured by the Zoom thing there, but just being a sensitive artist in this family is hopeless, Lisa Simpson. So in terms of those norms and expectations, right, model minority, it's not just in society and we might internalize them ourselves, but it's in our families. And so I have this Lisa Simpson here because I kind of identified with her role as a middle child in the family. You think you have a lot to say, but people don't really want to hear it. But as an artist, you can express those ideas. So this is a Christmas card I sent in 2003. It's in the genre of like a Walgreens drugstore Christmas card with a family photo. But at the time I sent it, I was, actually I still am, single, childless, and living in a studio apartment in the Castro in San Francisco. And so that the photo, background photo came from an image bank search on the internet for ideal Asian American family. And then the photos, these faces are all from photos of me at different ages to match the figures. And so I just sent it out as a regular card to about 4 dozen people. And the next day or the day after, when I came back from my studio class, my answering machine was full of messages. The friends who are my age thought it was hilarious and brilliant, but there are a number of messages from my parents' generation friends saying things like, it wouldn't be proper to congratulate you on a phone answering machine, but we just want to say we are so happy for you. And so what happened was it set off a chain reaction of phone calls among my aunts and uncles and my parents' friends, did you see Scott lately? What's going on? Yeah, I saw him at the grocery store in Japantown. And he said his parents were going to Japan. The relatives want to fix him up. So they're like, oh, that must be what happened. That's why they all look so much like Scott. And then they started calling my parents. And so my parents are just they thought it was hilarious, right? And I forgot to mention the reason I did this 1 year was both of my siblings, my older brother and younger sister, were married to other Japanese Americans, which is really rare. And this was the first year they both had children going into the holidays. So that normative pressure, I was feeling that because of where I was at in life. So there was like a purpose to this, to create space in the family for me to be myself. And so I'm offering that as an example of what you can do as an artist to disrupt norms and expectations in a way that can lead to change. And I think that's all I got. So can you hand it over to Sammy?
So the bucket, one of the tough that I, put it on the table with the papers in it and scraps in it. Those are from Korea. It's a Korean mulberry paper, and that's kind of the paper. Yeah. Yeah, smells good. It's very strong. It's because the way the fibers are, used in making paper is that they don't cut. They just kind of strip them. So it's very strong. But yeah. So I just want to show you the practice, my art practice, and how I bring my heritage and my identity in my art making. So as introduced, I'm Korean American. I'm immigrant who came at age 16. So I'm like kind of half baked there in Korea and completed here. So this one is called Very Proper Table Setting. So the paper that I use, I don't just use it directly, but I actually put it back into water to start the process. And I layer them, multi-layer, at least like 3-ply. And I kind of go through laundry like process, hand laundry, pre-industrial like hand laundry, and I then pound it. So I basically agitate all these fibers to interlock them. So it is felting process, so with the water and just my busy hands just crumpling, throwing and pounding, So I'm kind of reversing that paper making process to recreate a new substrate that I call paper skin. So once I have that paper skin, a new substrate, I use that to cast. So this is a table setting that I cast. Then I took it off, so it's all hollow. So it's like a bas relief project. White skin on a white wall. So from afar, it's kind of a little hard to figure out. There was one comment, it was at an art fair, that they approached it, they came close to it thinking that it was like a moon craters. It looked like a landscape, and they come close to it, then they will see all these textures, creases, and all this kind of characteristic that substrate builds during that process of paper skin making process. So that is one. How do I go to the next page? I am pressing the button. Return. No. Just click.
Yes, sir.
Right. So there is a painting by Kim Hong-do, who was a famous painter from Joseon period. He was famous for just doing painting of just peasants, going through their daily lives. So there is a woman doing the laundry with a wooden club, washing at a stream, and there is that club, and that's basically really what I do in my process. It was at Bimoka. I created this room, and like you saw in the previous slide, that club and pounding the laundry was actually usually done in pairs between sisters or between mother and daughter facing each other, and they just pounded and they gossip, talk about various things. But so I had a video projection of a person facing me and doing the pounding, and oops, now I don't know how to go back. Okay, good. And with her beat, I was actually in response pounding it with her. And so it was immersive installation where I go in and pound the material, create the paper skin. Then I was actually working, casting different items and making artwork. And sometime after I make artwork in this installation, I actually put it back into water too. So that's what I did. And these are the pieces of material kind of going through this paper skin making process. And once I have that substrate, this is me actually making that very first project. I am casting this imaginary meals that I ask people to set up for their loved one. Yeah. Red one is actually red papers that I was making. So sometimes I use color sheet, but usually I stay monochromatic, kind of like flesh tone, or like just white or black. It was kind of by my own observation at much later that I call this process paper skin, and these are all kind of flesh tones, of different, people. So that was something that I found interesting. But yeah, it is really, I'm kind of reinventing material that is traditionally from the Korean context. And as a Korean American, I feel kind of, I feel great, like kind of reinventing that process to make my own, but feel very connected to that heritage part of the culture and heritage. But when you look at the project in person, you will see all that details of wrinkle, all the qualities of a skin maybe, and it's beautiful because no one project. I mean, it's every single project has different thumbprint basically, so that's it. And so I mean, if the photos doesn't do justice, like if you can find time, currently I have like you can look at my work at 3 different venues right now. I have a show at Walker Fine Art. That's my commercial gallery that I'm represented. And I have it outdoor mural at Center for Visual Art, which isn't that, far from here. And History Colorado show just opened over this weekend that has work. And also until October, I'm part of the permanent collection at Denver Art Museum on 5th floor at Asian Gallery. So those are the places that you can kind of see my work in person. So if you can go take a look, that would be great. So in addition to my art practice, I operate this collective and a physical space, artist-run space, where I'm trying to create a platform for contemporary Asian art. So there's a map. It's Santa Fe Art District, just 4th and Santa Fe. And it's a very small, building, but I have a great time hosting artists like Scott. And since 2017, I hosted over like 13, 14 artists. Yeah, even, considering pandemic. So I have great time bringing them and sharing their practice with the local art community and students too. So yeah, so that's the end of, what we prepare on our slide. But yeah, we'll be very happy to talk to you guys and, anything about art art practice, creative thoughts, and how to complete those cane assignment. But it's really nice to see you guys all working intensely as you can. Yeah. So Surin, I know it's already 1:30, but are they free to stay a little beyond that time? Okay. Yeah.
Maybe even longer. So can you talk about like how was your parents receptive to you pursuing the art field?
Well, if we have a video on, I can't really fully share.
Okay, I'll stop.
Bye everyone who's on the video. So I was suggested to do piano. My aunt is a violinist, and my mom in fourth